Good evening once again. Tonight I'm bringing you a rather unexpected toy review. This is for Power of the Prime's Voyager class Inferno. Managed to come across one at my local Target today. And Inferno's an interesting case because he's a Wave 3 figure that's starting to show up at these Targets before Wave 2 has even reached most locations in the US. So it's very interesting. So we're going to go ahead, take a look at the figure, the box. This is a combiner type figure, so we'll get to see his combined mode as well. And hopefully you guys enjoy this look at Inferno. All right, quick look at the box. You have Inferno's artwork on the front right here. And something that's interesting about this artwork is that it shows a chest and even some shoulders here that are different from the Hotspot mold that Inferno is a retool of. Unfortunately, those details did not carry over to the finished product. As you'll see here in a moment, there's a big picture of Inferno's as of yet unnamed combiner mode, which can't really see much of what he's got going on for limbs here. It's definitely slug down there, and the rest I'm not entirely sure of. I'll have to look at that more closely later. Okay, there's a picture of the figure in his vehicle and robot modes, showing off his Prime armor, which he doesn't actually come with. At least not that Prime armor. The Prime armor they show here is a black redeco of that which comes with Hunger, so Abominus feet, and this Inferno actually comes with the same feet that Starscream came with. So it's interesting. I'm not sure why the change was made. And these pictures show him off, wielding his guns just in his hands, or even wielding the Prime armors as like an extension of his guns in this really awkward configuration. But luckily, the actual instructions to this toy show off a much better configuration for his armor and his weapons. That helps to really set him apart from Hotspot. So we'll get a look at that. It's also got some cross-sells for Solus Prime, Quintus Prime, and Megatronus, who, as of right now, aren't available in the US. But hopefully, with him showing up, this means they might be on the way soon. Got your standard Prime Master symbols here. You can see some damage to this box. There's a bit of damage on the top too, so like I was saying, luckily I'm not an inbox collector, so it doesn't bother me. Alright, so yeah, there's a box. Nothing special to it, but does unveil some interesting scrapped ideas or scrapped changes between the initial concept and the finished figure that we'll delve into here. Before we look at Inferno himself, here's a look at his character card. You see the art from the front of the box. Has him kind of looking like he's jumping away from an explosion or something. Kind of hard to tell. Neat enough picture though. And this card is specifically an Alchemist Inferno, which invents unmeltable Autobot armor. So that's kind of cool, right? Especially handy for him since he's a firefighter. Alright, so here's Inferno's vehicle mode, and it's just a red fire truck. I think it's like a Japanese model of fire truck. I could be wrong. And it's not a very good looking fire truck. I'll admit his vehicle mode is very weak. Just because all this just kind of empty space and stuff doesn't hold up very well for what it's supposed to be. You can see the way I've got the Prime armor connected here. And that's the best configuration I could really find for this. It's not how the instructions show to do it. You can see here on the instructions, it has you attach the Prime armor in pretty much the same spot, but then the guns attached separately down here above the wheels. And you can do that, however, given the way the guns fit into the holes here, doesn't work very well. Because you can see these kind of gear-shaped pegs the guns are on, and then you have these hexagonal holes for them to plug into. And the effect that ends up happening is it creates kind of a ratchet effect where you can't really get the guns to point straight, either point down a little bit or point up a little bit. So it doesn't look very good, which is why I opted not to put them that way, because they just look goofy They're either pointing up or they're drooping. So the way I have it configured, I think looks a lot better. And it's something that's not available to how the instructions intend, because the instructions are still going off the assumption that you're using those black Abominus feet. Whereas the Starscream feet have this little hinged peg you can swing out, which kind of makes this whole thing work. Because you can position them like that, plug the gun in the front like there. So, yeah. I wouldn't call it a fan mode per se, but more so working with the parts you're actually given vice what the instructions tell you have. And while we're looking at this, why don't we get a look at the Enigma. All right, and this little black and blue Enigma piece is called the Autobot Enigma. So, not a very original name, but it fits. He is just kind of a generic Autobot combiner. For comparison's sake, here's Inferno's fire truck mode with that of Hotspot, the original use of this mold. And you can see there's really not a lot of difference going on here, aside from the obvious, color and sticker differences that they have. Or, well, he's stickers, he's tampos, but, something you might notice that these little bits tend to flop down a little bit on my Hotspot. I've had them so long now I can't remember if they've always been that loose, but it's annoying. The thing definitely feels like it's showing its age. I definitely like the red a lot more. I'm really digging the bright red fire truck over this weird blue one. Just, it's much more interesting to look at. All right, now that we've looked at the vehicle mode, switch into robot mode. And here's his robot mode. Something you might notice if you're used to Hotspot is that Inferno's got his cannons over his shoulders, which isn't a fan mode. It's actually called out in the instructions for how to attach them, which I think is really cool that they, instead of just copy and pasting the Hotspot instructions, they came up with something new here. And they just, his prime armors plug into the back of his shoulders, plug the cannons on top, and it helps to give him, a more unique appearance, despite the fact that he shares a body with Hotspot. And it is just really neat to see. I love the colors on this guy. I really do. Like the bright red mixed with the very glossy black where it's painted. And even the flat black looks pretty good. Yellow here. Like I said, he does use stickers, but they're actually used very well. They look good, which is not something I usually say for these new Voyagers, but they're well placed. They complement him very well. The only sticker issue that I really have is that the Autobot symbol on his chest is a little crooked, a little slanted, but it doesn't really detract from the toy very much. And yeah, he looks really nice. I really like the way he turned out. Now he's not a great Inferno toy, right? If you're looking for something that is your quintessential Inferno, right? Your Chug Inferno, whatever. He doesn't really do that very well, because aside from his head sculpt, he doesn't look very much like Inferno. If you're looking for that, I'd probably recommend the old, Universe 08 one? I think that's what it was. Which, that wasn't a dead ringer either, but looked a little closer in style and proportions. But this is a really, interesting update. It's, a way to think of him as like Inferno in a new body or something. They really went all out with the paint apps on this, which I'm very happy about. They didn't shy away from it. Like I mentioned, when looking at the box, his chest and shoulders are the same as Hotspot's, which you'll be able to see that in a second. So they dropped the retooling at some point in the design. Here's Hotspot next to him, just so you can see how they differ and how they're similar. Pretty different color layouts in the chest and shoulder regions here. He's got his fists painted, not one, but two colors. Whereas his are completely unpainted, so it's neat that they did that. With Hotspot obviously lacking the prime armor, he's not able to get that whole shoulder cannon configuration. So honestly, between these two on their robot modes, even though, like I said, this isn't the perfect Inferno, I like him more than I do Hotspot. Just as a toy in general, I just think he looks great. I love his colors. They're not as drab or muted as Hotspot's. The head sculpt's really cool. The whole shoulder cannon thing is a big plus. But that's just me. sure some people out there disagree. And now the last thing we're going to look at is Inferno's Combiner mode. So we're going to see his torso configuration along with some random limbs we're going to attach to him. And now finally we have a look at Inferno's Combiner mode. Being a unnamed mix and match style combiner, he doesn't have a dedicated team, so I just kind of threw together some guys and gals to work with him. I think the cacophony of colors really kind of work well with him. Just kind of fits his theme of being really loud and interesting to look at. Now, while this combiner isn't officially named, there are some people that point to the Collectors Club story that mentions a combiner that Inferno's a part of, and it was dubbed Project Firestormer. So some people just call this guy Firestormer, which I think is a fantastic name and probably what I'm going to roll with, honestly. It's just more fun than calling him Unnamed Super Robot. So yeah, there we go. Firestormer. From here on out. Now, interestingly, in the story, Firestormer was made from Inferno along with Sideswipe, Hoist, Ratchet, and Bluestreak. Now, Ratchet and Bluestreak, you can actually get as combiner limbs, albeit they're club and convention exclusives. Hoist and Sideswipe were apparently unreleased head swaps for Trailbreaker and Sunstreaker. A lot of people do believe that Inferno was planned way back when Hotspot was first released as an alternate head. I don't know the validity of that for sure, but it does seem to make sense. But anywho, because this guy is a basically redeco of Defensor, his chest can accommodate any member of the Legends Groove Mold family, so I'm going to go ahead and add something to him. Alright, I've gone and added Legends class Wreck Guard to this, just to add to the loudness and the fun of it. Yeah, this toy definitely looks good as a chest armor piece for him. I like it. And because we don't have a release of this mold in the Power of the Primes line, this will have to do if you want chest armor for him. Or, groove or whatever. So yeah, he's just a fun little torso, which unfortunately doesn't have any sort of backstory or dedicated team. Because, I don't know, Hasbro's really dropped the ball with this toy line and the combiners. Like, they just got lazy. Didn't even try to finish off any teams, but yeah, that's a discussion for another time. And here we have Defensor, just to let you guys compare the two. Just like with Hotspot, I definitely just really prefer this coloration on the mold that much more. I love the really brightly painted yellow eyes. They look great. Helmet looks, more interesting, more dynamic. Colors, again, are just better overall. And I'm sure a lot of purists out there aren't going to like that, but, whatever. Obviously, this Inferno combiner, aka Firestormer, stands a good bit taller than Defensor. That's because of the newer style feet that he utilizes, vice the old hand-foot guns. So yeah, he's just a fun little thing to have. It's a good way to use up any excess limbs you have laying around there. One last thing worth pointing out in comparing these two. If you look at his legs or thighs here, there's been some slight retooling. This piece right here is kind of hard to see very well, but it's basically like a solid slot. There's a hole in the middle there that this notch plugs into, and that is retooled from the original version, which had an open end here on the spit. You can see that, right? It's not completely enclosed, the slot there, and it does kind of create some stability problems, especially on mine. Like, mine is very loose. It doesn't stay in place at all. So I'm sure mileage varies, but yeah, making that change definitely fixed any potential issues there. Holds together much better. And this has been Power of the Primes Inferno. This was a figure that I was so excited to just find out of the blue that I put my Grand Max review on hold, so please forgive me if you're looking forward to that, but that should be out tomorrow. And everything I said about this guy up till now still stands. He's not the best Inferno you could ever get. but he is just a great toy on its own. They were very creative with the, new way to have his weapons set up there by combining the prime armor with the 2 cannons he's got. The vivid colors are a huge plus for me in both his robot mode and combiner mode. Just like Hotspot, his fire truck mode is really, really weak. Like, it's a poor excuse for a fire truck. So luckily, I don't personally collect these things for the alt modes so much as I do their robot modes and, combiner modes, things like that. So I can look past it. This toy is by no means a must-buy unless you just really want to have an Inferno in your collection. But he's definitely something you won't just regret picking up if you just happen to come across him. It's always good to have another option when it comes to your combiner pieces. And though his torso mode is identical to that of Defensors, he's still something fun to have for the whole mix and match play. Things I am disappointed about: the fact that they didn't keep the new tooling for his chest, which would have been a bit more in line with his original chest details. But again, if you're looking for a G1 accurate Inferno, this isn't your guy. I mean, he doesn't really look anything like the original. He doesn't have the whole apparatus around his head that made him and his retool grapple stand out back in the day. But yeah, what he does well. So no complaints. He's a lot less loose and less finicky than my Hotspot copy. I don't know if that was a matter of luck or if my Hotspot's just getting old. Because like I said, I can't remember if his tolerances were so bad way back when I got him. But that's enough out of me. What do you guys think of this toy? Is this something that you're looking forward to picking up? Something you might just pick up on a whim? Are you disappointed with how the thing turned out, or do you like it for what it is? Any inputs, valid inputs. So I definitely look forward to hearing what you guys have to say about this new figure. If you're looking to obtain one, I would definitely check your local Target, because that's where they're showing up right now. And with all that said, I will see you all next time.